wonder that a global pandemic would be a triggering event in her tiny brain. It's an old political trick where what you say to one group contains a code that's recognised by another. If you think the Pfizer jab is the worst thing that's going to be put into your child's body over the next couple of days, you are hopelessly naive. Australian medicinal cannabis revenue is tipped to double this year, and Twiggy is not the only billionaire into herb at the moment.
Pauline Hanson is demanding choice.
She's added mandatory vaccines to the long list of things she doesn't like. She introduced a bill into the Australian Senate that would ban mandating vaccination, saying Australians had the right to refuse this experimentation on their bodies. She copped a bit of flack about her lack of biomedical credentials and health experience, but she was able to prosecute a deeply compelling argument as to why she wasn't fear-mongering.
No, I don't think I am.
Despite having perfected her own anti-COVID safety shield,
I'm quite happy to remove this.
Pauline is known to worry about her own mortality.
If you are seeing me now, it means I have been murdered.
So it's little wonder that a global pandemic would be a triggering event in her tiny brain.
How did the vote go?
She lost, 5-4 and 44 against.
And who are the harebrains who were with her?
A few Liberals and this bloke. National MP Matt Canavan, who used to be Federal Resources Minister, reckons mandatory vaccination is unfair, cruel and unnecessary, saying you should not have to undergo a medical procedure to earn a living, before quickly adding that everyone who works in the aged care sector absolutely should be fully vaccinated or be sacked. So it's okay to be unfair and cruel to the lowest paid workforce in the nation, just not the others.
That does not make sense.
Canavan's not the only federal politician having a bob each way at the moment.
The Prime Minister's been accused of dog whistling.
It's an old political trick where what you say to one group contains a code that's recognised by another. McGowan called him out on this.
You can't walk both sides of the fence. You have to be strong here. There just should not be any weasel words here. There shouldn't be any effort to dog whistle. And you support each of us that is trying to get people vaccinated across Australia.
The Prime Minister says he understands the frustrations of people and that vaccination should be a choice.
We're not in favour of mandatory vaccines imposed by the government.
Unless you want to come into the country, in which case you have absolutely no choice but to be fully vaccinated.
That does not make sense.
This is what happens when the Parliament is so evenly balanced and the PM is one dissenting vote away from being dragged out of the lodge. When you are a few months out from an election in a minority government and your approval rating ain't flash, every vote counts.
He's got to straddle the barbed wire fence.
And work out which nut he's happy to sacrifice.
Well, there's one spare nut out there.
Lindsay. Lindsay works with a company called Media. Freedom Media promotes itself as the home of real people and real stories. Lindsay has spent the past 24 hours being the mother of all toolies. He drove down to Bustleton to annoy leavers queuing up to prove they have been double vaxxed so they can safely have mountains of unprotected sex while high on a range of narcotics of dubious provenance. Reporting from the coalface, Lindsay warned mothers and fathers were in tears telling their stories of division within their families as a result of the WA state government's cohesive and manipulative strategy to force leavers to be injected. F me, Lindsay, I'm in tears from your use of the apostrophe. He goes on to say parents told him they didn't want to take their kids into the injection bus, but couldn't say no lest their sons and daughters ran away, leaving them never seeing their children again. To the worried parents of school leavers everywhere, let me say this. If you think the Pfizer jab is the worst thing that's going to be put into your child's body over the next couple of days, you are hopelessly naive.
Honestly, who is this Lindsay guy?
He's a serious journalist, like this guy.
I'm kind of a big deal.
Lindsay's fearless and intrepid reporting from Bustleton, a town that is clearly at the sharp edge of an unfolding international health crisis, allowed him to arrive at the conclusion that he might be witnessing medical apartheid, which I'm sure, at first blush, would have been welcomed by Pauline. before she realised that not all apartheids are good ones.
Not racist though, is it?
I'm sure he'll be inducted into the War Correspondents Hall of Fame and regale colleagues who reported from Iraq and Afghanistan with stories about how he was once moved on from the Joondalup shopping centre.
You are in our premises, man. You need to leave right now.
He needs to chillax.
Like Twiggy.
Pure, totally clean.
Andrew Forrest has gone into medical cannabis, hitting it hard, which might explain this headline. That'll cost his company Fortescue $300 million a year, which probably won't be welcomed by shareholders, but it's loose change for Australia's richest man, who is throwing money around like it's confetti. Forrest has just taken a $5 million stake in a medical marijuana company. Australian medicinal cannabis revenue is tipped to double this year, and Twiggy is not the only billionaire into herb at the moment. There's a different billionaire. Gina Rinehart's Hancock Prospecting spent $15 million on Perth-based Little Green Pharma, which is boosting production and expanding its European sales team. The company that caught Twiggy's eye reckons that synthetic cannabinoids can help with mental health and irritable bowel syndrome. Twiggy, if you're suffering from the shits, you don't need to buy a drug company. Just laugh the fruit at breakfast, mate.
You got a real beef with those blueberries.
Ah, you're a superfood. Every health expert knows that.
Please explain.
I'm Ben Harvey. For more Up Late, click the subscribe button below.